Fairground Attraction are a band known for their 80s hit Perfect, who, after 35 years apart, are back together for a UK tour and a new album called Beautiful Happening. Their latest single, Learning to Swim, captures the same sound that made them famous. And we've got Mark Nevin and Eddi Reader from the band on with us. How are you both today?
We're very well.
Fantastic.
Of course, you're back together after 35 years. What was it that prompted you to get back together after all this time?
Well, just the sort of encroaching nearness of death. Yeah, so in a nutshell. Is that right, Eddie?
Well, similar. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, life's too short. Come on, we have to get going.
Play silly games.
Absolutely, yeah. What has it been like getting back into it after such a long absence?
Strange and great at the same time. You know that way where you're just about to go on a fairground ride, and you're
see what you did.
And you're not really sure whether you're tall enough or going to stay on it when it's up in the air. So you're just kind of trusting. There's a lot of trust. We're all in it for the same reasons. We all wanted to say hello to each other again musically, and we wanted to, just say thank you really to ourselves and each other, and also any audiences that might want to be interested to hear us do some of those old songs. And now we've got new songs as well, so it's all developed this year quite organically, actually.
And do you find that even though you've not been making any music for all this time, the audience are still there?
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's quite encouraging. They're there, and it's like they've been sitting around waiting. They had nothing else to do.
Yes.
But honestly, they really are. They are so. There's been so much warmth. The response to the records that we put out so far, and I know that the First of Million Kisses album and Perfect in particular have meant so much to a lot of people. And there's so many people say, that when they were young, that there's that album, they listened to it over and over, and they know all the words and all that. So it's a big thing, I think, for people, and we're touched by how big a thing it is for them,
And it's big for us too, we're part of it. It happened to us as much as we helped create it. We were kind of the conduit for it, but certainly, we couldn't believe our luck, could we, Mark? We found such a beautiful sound, and Mark found Roy and Simon. I didn't know those guys, and Mark brought them in, and I was like, wow, in the midst of London where everybody's just trying to get deals and all that, we found this musical authenticity, which was just kind of miraculous in itself. Yeah.
And that song Perfect, which you mentioned, was an instant success, getting to the top of the charts. So did you expect that song to do so well so soon when you first came out with it?
Well, you don't ever, you sort of, you kind of, when you're young, you think, you sort of hope for things like that. But I think more often than not, it doesn't actually happen. But it did actually happen to us.
Yeah.
It was really like, wow, it's actually happened. Imagine that, it's a bit...
one minute you're outside the door, and then the next thing you're in the door.
You're in it, and you're in the middle of the room on the stage with everyone applauding. You're like, what? I wasn't even in here just a minute ago.
I was in his kitchen.
Did you expect it to resonate so widely? Because, as you say, Mark, that song does mean a lot to a lot of people, and it's not just how well it did in the charts at the time, but also how well it's still doing now. You still hear it on the radio, and it's still a lot of people's favourite song.
Well, I think the sentiment in the song is, is kind of like it's an anthem for the determined person, who kind of like, why should I settle for less or whatever it is you're settling for, and they can sing that and kind of, and it inspires hope, and as a songwriter and as musicians, the idea that you can bring hope to the world is a fantastic thing to be able to do,
And having all that under your belt, was there a bit of pressure coming back to try and make music that has the same impact?
Well, no, I don't feel that.
There's an element of trust, isn't there? There's an element of trusting who we are, how we've been made is not really our business. It's like we've turned up and in the world, and this is the sort of thing we come up with. So it's kind of something that actually it's brilliant that it's not really our construction in a lot of ways, although we are helping bring it forward. It's great to just know that there's a life of its own, it has its own volition, and people love it or they don't like it, or whatever it is, it's their business. Our business is just to kind of turn up to each other and play and perform, and Mark has provided us with these songs, these new ones and the old ones, and certainly I know for me as a person that is just kind of hearing some of those things for the first time, when I heard Perfect for the first time, or if I heard Learning to Swim, it's that sort of thing that blows my mind. And I know that if my mind is blown, then I'm going to be able to enjoy it enough to at least make 3 other people yeah.
Your new single is called Learning to Swim. So Mark, can you tell us a little bit about the sort of inspiration of the song?
Well, that song came about during lockdown when a friend of mine was doing, like in lockdown, people did all of these funny things,
Yeah.
to keep themselves occupied because they were stuck in their house. And this friend of mine said, did this songwriting thing online where he said he just came up with a title and got lots of different songwriters to write a song with that title. And that was the first day he suggested this title, Learn to Swim. So about 10 people wrote a song with the same title.
Wow.
And I was one of them. It came very quickly, and it's just like it's about faith, really, about just kind of like taking a leap of faith, and that in life that you have to do that if you want to achieve anything. And with Perfect, and I remember my mum saying to me when I was a little kid, she was, "Oh, Mark, you've got you really feel joy, don't you? You have a huge capacity to feel joy." And I never really heard anyone speak in those terms before, but I didn't even realize other people didn't. I thought everybody did. Yeah. And so when I write songs, I want joy in there. And Eddi, as a singer, she's the same. She does joy, and if you've got a song that's full of joy, and you give it to a singer that's not full of joy, it hits the ceiling of their joy window and falls on the floor like a deflated balloon. But with Eddi, it's like she cuts, like in my song, we cut. The heart is a kite that longs to fly. Let's cut the strings tonight. Well, together with my songs and Eddi's voice, we can fly a kite and let it go, and it'll fly right to the top. And then when people hear that, it's like there's just joy, and joy is our currency.
As you say, Learning to Swim has this sort of uplifting feel that I think it is different in many ways, but the fact that it's uplifting, you could compare to the song that most people will know you for, Perfect. Overall, how would you say your music is different now to how it was in the 80s?
Well, it's just in the way that we're different as human beings. We've matured a bit, and but I think the same essence is there, which is that we want something that's beautiful. We aim for beauty and grace and joy and all of that good stuff, and it just comes out like that.
Are there any sort of particular life experiences that have influenced your approach to this new album?
Yeah, well, life influences all, doesn't it? What is it you told me once, Mark? It was a quote that you had. Music is about life. Life isn't about music. What was that one? Remember?
Well, that was one. I had a bizarre experience one night of spending the evening talking to Herbie Hancock, which is pretty weird.
Yes.
And the reason why I had that thing was because I used to play with Sandy Shaw, and she was a Buddhist, and she rang me up one day and says, "Hey, I've got a Herbie Hancock coming down. Do you want to come?" I went, "What?" So anyway, I went down to this place in Camden. I spent the evening with Herbie Hancock and Sandy Shaw. And Herbie Hancock said this thing. He said, when I was younger, I used to think that life was about music. But now I realize that that's not the case. Music's about life. And so I always remembered that.
Yeah. And so when we're looking at the new songs and the old ones, they've kind of got a stamp of who we were then and who we are now. And also, there's a certain flavor that comes with Mark songs and the Fairground Attraction sound, which is that it's very much a human talking to another human. We're not on a pedestal. We're not trying to self-aggrandize. We just want to say we might get it all wrong, but we're going to try our best, and everyone is just trying their best. So I think that comes across in the words that I'm noticing that Mark's coming up with. It, you know, if you want to get it right, you have to fix yourself. If you want to fix something, you have to fix yourself first. That's the new kind of themes. And even when grief and other things happen to you in the world, and we've been through 3 decades without